Mr. Speaker, I want to talk right now because I simply cannot, in good conscience, vote in favor of a revenue plan that literally calls for $878 million in new taxes and new fees. The taxpayers are screaming out, if we're not listening, we're in real trouble. They're saying we're taxed enough already. Stop. What they want us to do is act responsibly and do what we would do at home with our own budget. If the money's not there, we don't spend it. Now, we spoke earlier, and the chairman spoke earlier about how much of an increase we had in spending this year's budget over last year's, and it was determined it was somewhere in the area of $1.7 billion more. However, I'd submit to you that it's not that, because as the chairman said, we deferred $2 billion in school aid payments over to this year's budget, which means you don't keep last year's spending at 133, you subtract it. So in essence, we increased spending by about $3.7 billion this year. Now, when you take that against the $9.2 billion we need to cut, that's a big chunk of change there. We need to stop spending so much, but then I get asked, if you don't support something like this and you don't support the tax increases, where does the revenue come from? We know there's an old saying that says it's easier to get $1 from a million people than $1 million from one person. But here's the problem. We're chasing the million people away and putting the burden onto fewer people. And we're chasing them away by being so business unfriendly. We're chasing the jobs away. And I submit to you, and I went through this and just marked a couple of the bills or the tax increases here that focus on businesses. One was the tax treatment of corporations and unincorporated businesses regarding biofuel production and qualified and emerging technology company tax credits. Well, we're kind of closing the loopholes and getting rid of that. Boy, there's a real incentive for some of these emerging technology companies to come to New York, right? So then we move on and we move to the non-resident hedge fund manager carried interest. And again, we go back to the fact that the mayor of New York says this is going to chase people away. It's common sense it's going to chase them away, but I also submit to you the Governor Jody Rell of Connecticut, and her quote was, "I'd like to convey a very simple yet heartfelt message. Connecticut welcomes you. I can assure you Connecticut has been pursuing and will continue to pursue a much more enlightened approach to job creation and retention and economic development." The sad part of her quote is, it's absolutely right. We continue to be business unfriendly and chase businesses away. I bring it then to a little more local to where I'm from. I'm from Long Island. Just yesterday, in yesterday's Newsday, I read about a Ronkonkoma company with nearly 25 employees, and this company makes machines for testing products. It up and left, relocated to Newcastle, Delaware. And I'll tell you what the president of the company said. He said, basically, New York lost its appeal as a place to conduct business. And his quote was, "Long Island is one of the highest cost of living places in the country. The taxes are out of control. Traffic is out of control. And quite honestly, New York is not a pro-business state." That's not from me. That's from a small business owner in New York. The Delaware governor was thrilled with this. Said Delaware provided numerous incentives to lure him over there, and the quote from the governor of Delaware was, "These are high-wage jobs creating high-tech products that get exported all across the world. We're thrilled to have them locate here." Well, get used to it, because we're chasing businesses away, and they're going to go to Connecticut and New Jersey and to Delaware, and we can look in the mirror and blame ourselves. Because every time we continue to pass some of these tax increases and levy these fees and taxes on the businesses, we are just assuring our rank as the most business-unfriendly state in the nation. I will also go to what my colleague Mr. Jordan was talking about, and that's the temporary deferral of business-related tax credits. And again, what we're doing, and I beg to differ with the chairman when he said we're not living up to our agreement. We are not living up to the agreement, because what we're saying here, and that was a great example by my colleague when he said, yes, you're going to get all your money. You're just not going to get it right now like we promised. So we're going to cut it and you're going to get 50% of it. Well, as a business owner myself, how do you plan your budget that year? How do you plan your budget next year? when out of the blue, they say, I know we committed this money to you, but we're not going to give it to you all now. We'll push it back. And as a business owner, am I confident that I will get it down the road? Because what's to prevent us 3-4 years from now from doing the exact same thing and saying, no, we're going to give it to you, just not right now. We'll defer it a few more years. This is the time we need to be giving incentives to businesses. We need to open up and put the welcome mat out and say, please come to New York to do business, so that we can, instead of levying that $1 million tax on one person, spread it out a bit. And I bring that up because, more and more people, when we chase a business away, more and more people are then on unemployment. This isn't a gimmick or a scheme. This is reality. That when we close up businesses, what we do is we put more people on the unemployment line. This isn't real hard to figure out. I'll take Company A here that has 10 employees. We tax them to death and they either leave or they close up. We now have 10 more people on unemployment. Those are 10 people that were paying income taxes. We just lost that revenue. That company was paying corporate taxes and business taxes. We just lost that revenue. We then took the 10 people and put them on unemployment, which is now costing us more money. And I know most of you have heard the governor is proposing now to increase unemployment payments by up to $70 per week. Brilliant move. We're now going to spend more money on unemployment instead of more money in tax incentives for businesses to create jobs. Do you know that June 1st we kicked in a 10% increase on welfare payments? That totaled nearly $80 million. But we talk about now this new Excelsior program that's supposed to help businesses. The maximum amount that we're going to spend this year is $50 million. We are literally spending $30 million more on welfare payments than we are giving businesses incentives to put people to work. Now, if you were to talk to anyone who is on unemployment right now and you were to ask them, would you rather have $70 extra this week or would you rather have a good paying job? I submit to you that anyone that answered they wanted the $70 should be cut off right away. They want good paying jobs. The people want to go to work. They want to earn a living. And what we're doing here is we're preventing that. We are chasing the business away that provides the jobs. So for that reason, and many, many more, Mr. Speaker, I will be voting against this. Thank you.